Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. In this video, we are going to build this pricing card from scratch. This is the perfect video to fully understand how Tailwind works. Now if you have never used Tailwind before, that's fine. I am going to go over everything including how to get set up with the CLI. Tailwind is one of the fastest growing and promising CSS framework at the moment. It is different from other frameworks such as Bootstrap and Foundation. Before starting, I will cover all the basics of Tailwind that we need: installation, configuration, theme customization, and more. It is completely mobile responsive. It's going to work for tablet devices as well as the mobile devices, and it's going to look great on all of them. So let's dive into it. Now to work with Tailwind, you need to first install Node.js in your local system. If you don't have it, go to nodejs.org. You can download recommended version and install it. Now the next thing you need is a code editor. I am gonna use in this course is Visual Studio Code or VS Code because it's a beautiful, lightweight and cross-platform editor. If you don't have it, you can download it from code.visualstudio.com and install it. So here is the VS Code. We are gonna install two extensions that make it easier to build reactions in VS Code. So open up the extensions panel on the left side and search for Tailwind. Here is the extension I am talking, just install it. Again, let's search for live server. Here is the extension, just install it. Now let's create a empty folder on our desktop. I am going to name it pricing card. I am going to drag and drop my folder I just created. This is the Tailwind CSS website and the docs are here, which are really good. Anything that you want to search for, if you just putting color, you can see all the text color, border color, background color, customizing color, and so on. You can find just about anything you want from this search box. And then there is a few ways that we can get started with Tailwind. So one is using the place CDN, which is really simple. We just include the script tag here and then you can go on and you can use Tailwind CSS class. You can even add a config object in a script tag, so you can add some configuration. So that's one way to do it. And then there is the Tailwind CLI, which is what we are going to do. And in this case, what we do is install Tailwind on our system and then we have it watch our HTML files that we are working on, and it will then compile any Tailwind classes we use. It will go ahead and compile a static style sheet that we can then include in our HTML. We are going to go ahead. Please open up the terminal. First thing we want to do is npm init-y, so that will initialize a package.json file. You should see that here. Then we are going to install Tailwind as a dev dependency. So we can do that with npm I, which is short for install, -D Tailwind CSS. So that's going to create a node modules folder which has all the dependencies for Tailwind. You should see node modules here, and then in your package.json file you should see your dev dependencies and you should see Tailwind CSS. Alright, now if we look at the documentation here, it's telling us to run npx Tailwind CSS init, which create a config file. So let's go ahead and run npx Tailwind CSS init. You should get a tailwind.config.js file here, and it's going to look like this by default. And here you can add like any custom colors or whatever any customizations you want. Now we do have to tell Tailwind where to look for the utility classes. So here they are saying look in a source folder and then look at the HTML file and JavaScript files. Now if you want to use a source folder, you can. I am just going to keep everything in the root, since this is a really simple project and file structure. So in the content I am going to go to do /**.html. Okay, let me show you what I mean. In here, let's say /**.html, js curly brackets. So basically it's just going to look for any HTML files in the root. Alright, let's save this and close it up. If we look down here, it says to create a input.css file. Obviously you can call this whatever you want, and they put it in the source folder, but I am just going to put it right in the root. So in here we will say input.css. Okay, now we want to add these 3 lines. So I am going to copy these lines and paste it right here. Now save it. So we have the base, we have the component and utilities. So basically what Tailwind will do is watch these files, and it's going to compile this and give us everything, all the Tailwind stuff. Close it up. Now it's telling us to run npx tailwind css -i and then the input file, which for us is input.css, and then -o whenever we want the output to go. In this case they are saying they want to put it in a dist folder, call it output.css, and then what --watch does is constantly watch it and compile, which is what we are going to want to do in development. Now instead of typing all this out in the terminal, I am going to add a script in the package.json file. Let's go into our package.json file. So right here let's change test to build, and then let's get rid of everything in here, and we want it to run npx tailwind css -i, and then our input file, which is going to be ./input.css, and then we want to specify our output -o, which I am going to do ./css/style.css. So basically it's going to watch this file, and then this is going to be the output. Now I want to copy this down and have the same thing, but add --watch at the end, and then just change the name of the script to watch. Okay, so one will just run once build it, and this one will constantly watch it. Now save the changes and let's run npm run build. Okay, you are going to see this message: no utility classes were detected in your source files. It's because we don't even have an HTML file with any classes in it, but you can see it did compile. And if you look up here, now we have a CSS folder and then style.css file with all of our Tailwind CSS stuff. So basically it's just took that from this file, compile it and turn it to in this style.css file. Okay, let's go ahead and create an HTML file, index.html, and we will add a boilerplate. In here I will say pricing card, and then let's add a link here. This is going to go to our css/style.css. Okay, firstly I want to show you some features of Tailwind before starting our project, so it will be easier for beginners. In here I want to add a div, and inside it let's say light code. Now save the changes, open up the terminal, you can press Ctrl J. Now let's run npm run watch. Close up the terminal. Now you can click on this go live button. Please make sure you have installed live server extension, and you should see the text in the browser. Back to our code. So I'm gonna give here a class, and let's see what we can do. For example, we can change its color. I will say text dash red. As you can see, all those properties are here. So let's say text dash red dash 800. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, you can see our text is red. Back to our code. We can give font size by writing text dash 4XL. I can give any padding like that. I can give background color by writing bg dash blue. You can see all those properties are here. Let's say bg dash blue dash 800. Now save the changes. Great, you can see it's working. The font size, padding and the background color. I can give any width or height, so let's say w dash 56. As you can see, its actual size 40 rem or 224 pixel. I can give height, let's say h dash 32. Now save it. Back in the browser, now it's working, the height and width. Also we can add some custom color. Okay, let me show you how it works. Let's go into tailwind.config.js file. We would add our custom colors within this extend object. We can say colors colon curly brackets. Let's say color dash primary colon red. Let's say color dash secondary colon gray. Let's say color dash white hashtag FFF. Now save the changes. Now we can add these colors. Let's go into our index.file and let's change this to bg dash color dash primary. And here let's say text dash color dash white. Now save the changes. Now you can see our custom background and text color, which is coming from here. So it works like that, and it's very easy for all those properties. You can check the documentation of Tailwind. You will find everything here. I am not gonna explain everything one by one. It's gonna take hours. But what I want to say is, do not try to memorize anything. Just use this documentation and just open up this page whenever you need. There is one more important thing, and it's responsive design. This is a great feature of Tailwind CSS because it actually uses mobile first approach. If you used any other framework like Bootstrap, probably you are familiar with it. Let me show you how it works. Basically, when you write any CSS property here, it applies for small screens first. You can see its breakpoint. Also, you can see there are some common breakpoints here. Small screen, medium screen, large screen, XL screen, 2XL screen. And if you want to change your CSS style for other screen, you have to indicate them. Otherwise, it's gonna apply for all screen. If I move this screen, as you can see, nothing is changing. So let's say I want to change its height between small screen and medium screen. To do that, we should use breakpoint. I will say md colon height dash 80. Now save it. As you can see, it's still the same, but if I move this screen, and as you can see, it's getting bigger in this point because it's our breakpoint. If I come here and let's say for the large screen, text color will be color dash secondary. Now save it. Let's move this screen, and you can see after this breakpoint the text color is gray. So it's working like that. So now we can focus on our main project. Okay, here is our final design. I set them side by side. Let's start with this background color. Back to our code. Let's start with this body tag. I am gonna give here a class and then bg dash slate dash 800. text will be white, so we can write text dash white. Now save it. Back in the browser, now you can see our background color. Back to our code. Let's get rid of everything in here. I will start with a section tag. Inside it, let's have a div, and inside it, let's have a h4 tag. And in here, let's say pricing. Below that, let's add a h1 tag, and in here, let's say get in reasonable price. Now save the changes. Alright, before we start creating cart section, let's style those two elements. Here is what we want it to look like. First, we want to center this content. I'm gonna give here a class and add text-center. I will add some padding on top and bottom with py-20. Now save it. Nice. I'm gonna give here a class equal to font-bold and add color with text-emerald-500. Also, I'm going to add a class here. We will increase the font size with text-3XL, and the font weight will be font-bold. Now save the changes, and I think it's looking really good. Now let's focus on this cart section. Below this div, let's have a new div. Inside it, let's add one more div, and in here, let's say cart goes here. I'm going to duplicate this line 2 more times. Now save it. So here they are. It's not looking that great just yet, but we are going to work on that. We want the pricing plan to display in 3 columns like this. So let's define this wrapping div as a grid container, and since I want 3 columns, I am going to go with grid-cols-3. Save it. Alright, that's a start. And so we understand a little bit better what space each of this column is using. I am going to add a border around each. So on this cart div here, I am going to add a class. I will add a border, and the color we want here is border-gray-500. Now we can add cart's drop shadow by writing shadow and select the large one. Okay, next I will add some internal padding inside the card with p-8. I am going to duplicate these lines 2 more times and get rid these lines. Now save it. You can see we don't have any space or any gap between each of the cards. So let's add that on our grid container element with the gap utility, and I will go with a gap of 8. Now save it. Now it's looking nice. Now we want to add maximum width like this. So in here I am going to add max-width-7XL. Now we will center this container with mx-auto. Now save it. You can see our maximum width and center position. We can add some horizontal padding. So in here let's say px-4. Also we can add some horizontal padding for small screen with px-6 and for large screen px-8. Now save it. One more thing, you can see that on our medium screen we have 2 columns, and for small screen we have 1 column. So let's do that. So we can add this one only for large screen by writing lg::grid-cols-3. Also in here let's say md grid-cols-2. Now save the changes. Back in the browser. Now you can see 3 columns for large screen, 2 columns for medium screen, and 1 column for small screen. Now we want the rounded corner and the background color. So in here let's say rounded-2XL and bg-slate-900. I'm going to copy these two classes and paste here and here. Now save the changes. Back in the browser. Now you can see the rounded corner and the background color. Now let's add some content to the cards. So the first content of our pricing card, which is the price itself, I will first write the markup for it and then we will apply some styles. So let's get rid this content, and inside it I will have a paragraph tag with 3 different span elements. The first one will display the $sign, the second one will be the price itself, and the third one will be per month. Now save it. Now let's style this content. Here is what we want to look like. Let's start with this p tag. I will add text dash small and the font weight will be font dash bold and the position will be relative. Let's style this $sign. Position will be absolute, top 0 and left 0. Let's style the price itself. I want to increase font size with text 6XL. I want to add padding left with PL-2. And finally, let's style per month. I want to add font size font normal. Now save it. Now it's looking great. Let's focus on this title and the description. Back to our code. Below this p tag, let's have a div, and inside it let's add an h3 tag, and in here let's say basic. Below this h3 tag I'm going to add a p tag. Let's copy this description and paste it right here. Save the changes. Back in the browser, let's add some style for the title and the description. Back to our code, I'm gonna give a class. I want to add vertical padding with py-10. Let's style h3 tag. We will increase the font size with text-xl. The font weight will be font-bold. I want to add padding bottom with pb-3. Let's style the description. I will make the text a little bit smaller with text-sm. And finally increase the line height a little bit with leading-6. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now I think it's looking nice. Now let's focus on this unordered list. We have the icon and the title, and we can collect this icon from Font Awesome. Open up a new tab and go to cdnjs.com, and in here search for Font Awesome. Here is the Font Awesome I am talking. You can copy this link by clicking this icon, and I am going to add this icon at the top and below this meta tag. Now save the changes, and below this div I am going to add an unordered list, and inside it let's add a list and let's add that icon. So let's have a I tag, give it a class and add fa-solid space fa-bookmark. Below that let's have a span tag, and in here let's say expense management. I am going to duplicate this line and let's change here to card management. Now save it. Back in the browser, let's style this unordered list. Let's apply some spacing on the UL element. So here I will use pb-10. We want some spacing between each list item, and we can also do that on the UL element with the space between utility, and we will use 4 here. Now save it. Now you can see some spacing between each item. I am going to add a class in here, and let's say display flex align item center, so we can add items-center. Text will be small, and I will increase the line height a little bit with leading-6. Let's change the color for these list icons, and the color will be text-emerald-500. Let's add a class for the span tag. I want to add some padding on the left side, so let's say PL-4. Let's copy this class name and paste it right here. Let's copy this color and paste it here. And finally let's copy this class and paste it right here. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now it's looking great. Now let's focus on this button element. Below this UL tag, I am going to add an A tag, and that A tag is going to be a class. Let's add some margin top. Display will be block. I want to add rounded corner and select the large one. Background color will be BG-Emerald-500. I want to add some padding horizontally, so let's say PX6, and also vertically, let's say PY4. Text align will be center. Text will be small. Font size will be font-semi-bold. Leading 4. Shadow will be medium. And finally, let's add a hover effect. Background color will be BG-Emerald-700. And in here, let's say get started. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now it's looking nice. Now I am going to add these contents for these cards. Now let's add here card 1. Let's get rid these two divs. I am going to copy this div with this comment tag, and below this div I am going to paste second card. Let's change this one card 2, and let's change the content. Below this div, I am going to add third one. Let's change the content. Now it's looking nice, but we have one problem with our buttons. This is the fact the buttons are not sitting at the bottom of the card. So we are going to set the entire card as a flex container, and then we will tell one of this element, for example this unordered list, to use all the available space possible. So let's do that for card number 1. I will add a class of flex. Now save it, and this by itself is going to completely explode the design. Yes, you can see that since the default direction for the flex is flex row, so every element is side by side. But if I also add flex-call, you can see everything is back in place now. But the great thing is I can tell any of the flex children elements to grow and use as much space as it can, which in turn will make our button go to the bottom. Okay, let me show you what I mean. In here I will give a class of flex1. Now save it. Now our pricing card look exactly like we want. Let's do that for other cards. I will scroll down to the card 2, and in here let's say flex and flex-call. Here let's add flex-1. I will scroll down again. In here let's say flex and then flex-call, and here let's say flex1. Now our pricing cards are looking great. Now finally we can focus on this most popular batch. Back to our code, I am going to work on card 2. Inside this div and above this paragraph, I am going to add a p tag, and in here let's say most popular. Now save it. Back in the browser, now you can see most popular text. But now we don't want it to sit here above this price. We want it to be floating on top of the card here, and for that we are going to use absolute positioning. So I will add a class name to the paragraph tag and give it a class of absolute, and we want to place it at the top of our card, so I will go with top -0. Now save the changes. Look, it's right up there at the top of our viewport. Since we want this badge to sit at the top of this card, let's set this card container element to have a position of relative. So in here, let's say position relative. Now our badge is sitting under the top edge of the pricing card, which is what we want. It's not perfectly positioned yet, but we will work on that. Let's first apply a few styles to make it look like a badge, and then we will work on its position. So in here, background color will be bg-emerald-500. I want to add some padding horizontally, so px-3, and also some padding vertically with py-0.5. Okay, let's make the text a bit smaller. Font size will be font-semi-bold. I will also slightly increase the letter spacing with the class of tracking-white. I want to add border radius, so let's say rounded full. Let's add a shadow and select the medium one. Now save the changes. Alright, so now let's work on the positioning. Instead of sitting under the edge of the card, we want it to be exactly vertically aligned on the top of the edge. So it currently has a position of top 0, and you might be tempted to try something like minus top 4, and that's a little bit too much, or maybe minus top 3, and now it's just a little too low, so that's not very precise. But more importantly, this feels like a magic value to me. We are trying to gauge the correct amount of offsets to apply. So we will set it back to top 0. In here I am going to use translate-y to translate the badge vertically, and since we are going to up, we want it to be a negative translate. And for the value of this translate, which is the key part, we want our badge to be halfway up across the edge. So we want to translate by 50 or on half. Now save the changes. Back in the browser. Now it's always going to sit exactly across the edge of the card. In this position, our pricing card is complete. If you like this video, please subscribe our channel.